Friends, education supports innovation. However, when innovation seeks to change the way we teach and learn, then it's a cause for concern as much as it's a cause for celebration. It depends on the context. Advances in technology have been profound and are forcing us to adopt new ideas, new practices, and new tools, that promote personalization, accessibility, and more importantly, efficiency. Several buzzwords are floating around, which in their cacophony are drowning the teaching learning aspects, the important ones. Some important ones are artificial intelligence, machine learning, and gaming, though there are many more such ideas. While the most important aspect of AI is personalized learning experience, its use in developing adaptive learning systems to analyze students' learning styles, preferences, and progress is important. Machine learning algorithms, on the other hand, adjust the pace a student learns at and then set different levels of lessons by using real-time data, ensuring that each student receives the support as much as she would have otherwise received in a classroom. So there are multiple platforms to do all that. Platforms such as Dreambox and Newton help in learning mathematics at one's pace. They guide constantly by targeted instruction to address specific knowledge gaps. Now, while all that may be for the learner, AI helps teachers also, by automating almost all the administrative tasks such as grading, creating customized lesson plans, and the immediate benefit is to free up the teacher's time, which can be used for better purposes. And the teacher can be allowed to focus more on slow learners. Apart from the administrative tasks, AI-powered chatbots and virtual tutors, they make teaching learning interactive. And most importantly, they also provide immediate feedback, simple and effective explanations, and continuous guidance. Now, there are multiple buzzwords, like I said. Another buzzword in education is immersive learning experience, ILE. While it's an interactive environment that can, go much beyond the traditional classroom environments by actually replicating the real world scenarios to teach skills or explain, complex concepts, it needs to use technology such as virtual reality, augmented reality, and so on. Now, whereas virtual reality allows learners to visualize, through simulations of real-time events, augmented reality, on the other hand, superimposes the digital content onto the real world, allowing students to interact with dynamic 3D models, be it of human body or of scientific events. A case in point is medical students using it to practice surgeries in a simulated environment before actually performing them on real patients. One other buzzword is gamification. How many times you must have heard of this? Research tells us the human brain processes images up to 60,000 times faster. It processes images up to 60,000 times faster than text. And that students take to video games much faster than they take to learning concepts from purely voiceover or text-based messages. Hence, game design elements is non-game context like learning will be the most exciting innovation in education. Gamification is certainly a method to look for in future. No wonder games such as Kahoot and Classcraft are popular tools in several classrooms. So how does one design courses in future? Incorporating elements such as points, levels, badges, leaderboards to make learning more engaging and motivating would be required. Even games such as Minecraft Education Edition or Civilization 6 have been adapted and adopted in some institutions to promote skills like critical thinking, teamwork, and resource management to great effect. Project based learning, PBL, is another of those buzzwords, which involves innovative pedagogical approaches where students work in real time, real world projects requiring critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. Now, PBL encourages students to actively engage with complex problems and produce tangible outcomes. It fosters a deeper understanding of subjects and helps students develop essential skills for modern workplace. PBL also allows students to design prototypes for theme-based problems or develop business plans for new products. Since most problems are multidisciplinary, most of the products are multidisciplinary today that we use. So therefore, problems are also multidisciplinary, involving skills in STEM and so on. PBL mirrors the way work is done in a professional environment. Further, collaborative tools like Google Workspace and Microsoft Teams, they allow students to work together. So how often do we hear about flipped classroom models? Probably often. Another buzzword. So simply put, reverse the learning methodology. Instead of learning new content during class time and completing home assignments later, reverse the paradigm. Engage with new material at home through videos, readings, or online tutorials, and use the class time for collaborative activities, discussions, and problem solving. You are flipping the game. Now, is it reinventing education? Maybe, maybe not. However, it makes classroom time more dynamic for the students and facilitates group discussions or practical demonstrations and enhances their understanding. Today, every regulator seems to be stressing on the use of educational technology platforms like learning management systems. Another buzzword, LMS. Be it Moodle, Canvas, or Blackboard, they all insist, that they be used. They provide a central hub where teachers upload lessons, assignments, and students access that online, anytime, anywhere, and promote personalized learning pathways. Consequently, most EdTech platforms support hybrid and remote learning models, making education more flexible and accessible. How effective are all these interventions in the current milieu or for predicting the future? That is an interesting question. Of course, a lot of data will be needed to be analyzed to answer that question. By collecting data on student performance, behavior, their engagement, one can fine-tune the teaching methods and also identify students, who may need additional support. Now that's the best part of it. There are platforms like Edmodo and Google Classroom which collect data that helps teachers assess how well students have understood a topic and then allow for better targeted interventions. Innovations in technology will continue to inspire in ways that we even cannot think of today in teaching and learning. They may even democratize education. Many of them have actually democratized education, ensuring learners of all backgrounds, thrive and do well in all contexts. However, teaching is a performing art. Great teachers of the past neither had access to nor used technology. They were great because they guided their students, their requirements, and innovated on the fly. Can we dispense with them in a newly curated world? So, friends, that's from me to think about in what we as teachers are doing in the universities and institutions when we talk about teaching, learning as a process. In the new world, we have to think differently. We have to use tools differently. And that's where the challenge comes. If we can succeed, we succeed completely. With that, friends, I end today's episode with a promise to be back the next Saturday. Until then, thank you, dhanyawad and namaskar.